YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back in Total War Rome 2. Excited to bring you some more online action. This one's going to be a 2 versus 2, and I'm going to be commanding the mighty Boii. My teammate's going to be commanding the Suebi. It's Asag Fury as my teammate, and then we're up against these two guys that look like they have a clan tag AEO. I don't know what that is. But when I joined the room, they had a 2v2 set up on an open map, and they had picked Arverni and Rome, which really had me wondering, like, these guys gonna go like all MLG on us here with some crazy awesome builds. And then my teammate joins, picks the Suebi, starts picking a rather hard army, and I'm just like, ooh, don't know how this is gonna go. We'll see. Boii can hold their own, but the army that the Arverni select here is just absolutely weird. And I don't even know if he spent all his funds. Like, it doesn't look like he did. Anyway, when the battle started, I was like, that's the Arverni army, huh? Made me feel better, because it's not particularly good. Now, we'll go check the funding on this army, but I mean, he's got 3 Oathsworn, which is expensive. And then, I mean, he's got, let's see, looks like 5 Chosen Swords, a Celtic Onager, and a Celtic Scorpion, but he's also got several units of the Celtic Hunters hidden. No heavy horse from the Arverni player. In my mind, that's a pretty foolish build. Scorpions can sometimes pay back. I wouldn't use them against, well, I mean, you could use them against the Boii because you know they're going to bring heavy horse. The Roman, though, brings an interesting army too. So the front line's looking like 6 legionary cohorts, and then he's backed them up with 4 legionary cav, 2 triari. Actually make it 7. Let's see. Yeah, 6 legionary cohorts, 2 avocati. These avocati over here are going to be tough, so 8 Roman infantry, sword infantry, 2 spear infantry, the 4 cav, you got a bodyguard that's going to be back here, and then he's got 3 auxiliary Syrian archers. The Syrian archers could potentially cause a lot of damage to the Suebi. The Suebi have brought, oddly enough, 3 Germanic youths in the center, 2 longbow hunters. Longbow hunters can be used to decent effect if they're used right. His main line's Woden Spear. This is very popular right now with Suebi because these guys can be quite sturdy, and the Romans don't have a good charge bonus, so Woden Spears actually could be a decent front line. He has no Ariovistus General, though. Noble Rider General. Noble Riders out here, 2 more of them, and a Germanic Scout Rider. Second line of Bloodsworn, which again with Ariovistus these guys can be dangerous, but not sure how they're going to do without it. I immediately start charging the Arverni player. Whenever you bring artillery, I'm just going to charge you and negate its effects, basically. Yeah, so we see 3 Gallic Hunters that have popped up and opened fire. I'm going to suicide attack my archers just to take hit points off of his Oathsworn General because he has his non-shielded side turned towards my Celtic Bowmen. So I'm going to kill as many Oathsworn and damage their hit points so that when they get into the fight, they're more liable to lose, because he's using his guys to protect his onagers, and this is the downfall of artillery. This is why I would recommend to any player playing Total War Rome 2 online competitively, and it's not a siege battle, do not bring artillery. Sometimes you can bring scorpions to help take out cavalry from range, but you have to defend them, and that means your guys are going to have to turn all kinds of angles to defend, and it's just rough. And it leaves stuff like this open where I'm going to get all kinds of damage done on these Oathsworn with cheap archer units and basically ruin the combat effectiveness of this unit. Yes, I'm going to lose my archers, big deal. And my guys are spread so thin that the onager are going to have minimal effect, and then he has to use 2 Oathsworn and a Chosen Swordsman to protect these 2 artillery units that just aren't paying back. The Scorpion, 0 kills so far. The onager does have 50 kills. I don't know what it's on, but I'm not particularly worried about it. I'm going to charge in with Celtic Warriors just to kind of do some initial damage and soak up some javelins, tie the enemy units down. And then I'll bring in my more expensive sword followers and Oathsworn. Over here, the Suebi is already facing off at the Roman. The Roman skirmishers just absolutely destroying. The Suebi skirmishers all using Flaming Shot, I believe, which is going to be utterly useless against the Romans. It decreases all of their armor piercing. So I already have a surround going on this Chosen Swordsman because his Oathsworn is just standing here in a defensive mode. They're going to get nice javelins into my flank, but it doesn't matter. I go ahead and pull some of my Celtic Warriors back rather than letting them die, and I'm going to follow up with Sword Followers. These guys did take fire from the onager. Here, I'm going to time a Sword Follower charge into the front of these Chosen Swordsmen with a very wide, very spread out, and what's going to be an absolutely devastating rear charge from Heavy Horse. So, wham! That whole Chosen Sword unit is just going to get absolutely flattened And the Legionary Cav comes to try and rectify this, but it's too late. Damage is done on those Chosen Swordsmen. They're going to start dying in droves. Here comes another heavy cavalry into the back of this Oathsworn and the Legionary Cav, so it's going to bash the Oathsworn up quite badly. Over here, I've engaged some Legionary Cav in the back, and I'm going to win easily with the Heavy Horse. I'm going to reinforce with more Heavy Horse, and I've got Levy MLG Freeman back here to push in too. The Wodenaz Spears charging in. They've got a decent charge bonus, but these Roman units are going to be tough. The Wodenaz Spears, however, pretty decent melee defense on these units. It'll take a while for the Romans to cut them down. I'm going to have to finish mopping up the Arverni. I've now engaged the units in the back, and I've got my general trying to get some rear charges. This Onager crew is doing the only useful thing they've done all day, which is get in the way of the charge of my Oathsworn and slow down that process. But otherwise, the enemy general is just completely overwhelmed. Only gotten 53 kills because I wrecked it up with archers first. Chosen Swords all get completely overrun. MLG Freeman back here destroying cavalry and helping to take care of this engagement. An Evocati cohort coming out here, but used against Levy Freeman, it's not going to be the best use, so I get my cavalry free in a way. And over here we've smashed an Oathsworn, a Legionary Cav, and a Chosen Swordsman, all with just 2 sword followers from the front. So my guy's definitely pulling some heavy weight here, just absolutely smashed that Arverni army. So if this is not evidence enough for those of you who may not be believers or may be new yet, do not bring artillery. The Arverni could have brought a very challenging army for me to face, basically almost a mirror of what I brought, and instead, by bringing those artillery pieces, just gets absolutely squashed. So that's why you don't want to bring the artillery. You have to defend it. It's not worth it. It doesn't get you the kills. Someone would have to sit there, bunch their units up, and let you fire into it to make it cost effective. It just will not work. That's why I don't recommend doing it. This Evocati cohort over here is doing very well, so I want to change that. I'm going to turn around and give them a charge, so they're going to get hit from both sides. And then I'm going to pull out of there, and I'm going to smash into all these Syrian archers before they can shoot up my cavalry and tie them down in combat. So the Roman is now all tied down in combat from here, and my Boii troops are now hightailing it to the other side of this battlefield. These Evocati cohort are going to get surrounded by Levy Freeman and 2 sword followers, and then my heavy cavalry right now is just wreaking havoc in the Roman rear lines. They're pushing these Syrian archers to retreat, and it forces them into the melee with the Wodenaz Spears and the Bloodsworn. So between the Wodenaz Spears and the Bloodsworn, because of the way the Romans blobbed up, they'll do okay. But right here, the Roman is doing some outflanking, but you can tell these guys are still in formation attack. This is less effective. You want these guys to, you want them to circle around the edge of that unit like that, and it would be causing way more penalties. Anyway, the Roman's protecting over here with Triari, trying to keep Cav out of the back line, but I mean, his flank right here is just going to get absolutely swamped with Boii here in just a minute. The best way to beat Evocati is to overwhelm them if you have the opportunity. This is going to take away their ability to really be cost effective by going in one-on-one engagements where they might do better. So 2 sword followers and an Oathsworn all ganging up on the Evocati, knocking it out. And then right here, this is where it's about to get ugly. Celtic warriors doing what they do best. Javelins to the back of all these. Look at this squishy bunch of Roman archers and some legionaries mixed in there, all going to get just massively rear charged by Celtic warriors. And these Celtic warriors are going to just start raking in the kills. Unit's going to pay for itself like 50 times over. You can see the bloody combat taking place right there. This causes a chain waver over here, which means all these Germanic troops now free to start pouring in. And the Roman is just going to get absolutely wrapped up here. Now, the Roman army and the Arverni army should have been able to overcome our team, mainly because both those factions should be able to outdo the Suebi if played properly, depending on the rule set. And in this rule set, which was pretty much just no artillery, or well, no chariots and no elephants, then the Suebi should be at a disadvantage, in my mind, to both Rome and Boii. Here, look at these Triari, the last line of defense for Rome indeed, as they fight to the death, surrounded completely, and all of them are going to die. I don't know if if my troops or my teammates' troop will spare any survivors here to go home and tell the story. Look at this army here, so let's remember that. 3 Oathsworn, 5 Chosens, 4 Hunters, Scorpion, Onager. Let's go look at the pricing there. I didn't show you all the different stats, but it wasn't that important. I want to see that army and see if he even spent all of his money, because if so, that's insane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Celtic, Onager. Oh my gosh. 1580 just for that one unit. I don't think he spent all his money. large. Yeah, he may have, actually, or at least close to it. Oh my gosh, he did. Wow. Yes, not trying to be mean, but if you're looking to be competitive, this is not a good Arverni army online. I'm going to go ahead and explain this again, because there are a lot of new people on Total War Rome 2 pretty frequently, and I'm going to explain why you're going to struggle with this army online. I already explained the artillery. It makes you defensive. Gallic Hunters are cool units, and sometimes they can be used, but again, these guys are expensive. They do not have particularly high missile damage, and if you look down here, no armor, which means that they're going to be extremely susceptible to return fire from any skirmishers, so you would have to keep them safe from enemy skirmishers. And you would need to have cavalry in order to kill enemy skirmishers, so this setup will not accomplish that. If you get rid of these two units here, maybe drop another Gallic Hunter, probably drop 2 of them. Be smart. I mean, the 3 Oathsworn and the 5 Chosens I don't necessarily disagree with, but that's going to take away a lot of money from cavalry. You generally want to have at least 4 heavy horse. I would drop an Oathsworn out of this, just go with 2 Oathsworn. You still got a nice solid core, and like I said, you can pretty much just now mimic everything that I did, and he would have been able to match me pound per pound. So there's the 4 Celtics. Get yourself a couple of levy free. The Gallic Hunters are just too expensive, to be honest. I'd just replace them. Like, if you really want some skirmishers or something, you try it, but I mean, look at this. You could just crank up more levy freemen, and they'll probably get you more kills anyway. Now you just got a mad rush going on here. I mean, you could do all kinds of stuff here. You could even put another Chosen Sword in there if you want to, and you've got a pretty nasty Arverni army here. Rushy is pretty good. For the most part, if you're doing infantry rush, as long as your guys have decent armor, and Chosen Swordsmen do, and Oathsworn do. They're not great, but they're not bad. You can throw in a couple skirmishers like I did. As far as the Roman army goes, whenever you're going to be facing against Suebi and Arverni, Triarii are overkill. These guys are extremely heavily armored, and they have very high morale, health, all that kind of stuff, but they're so expensive. And to be quite honest, yes, they're good at killing cavalry, but they're terrible at killing infantry. So you'd be better off, I mean, if you look at that, I mean, that right there is, good grief, that's like, crap, that's 1,600 talents, or whatever you want to call it, 1,580 talents for these guys. For the same cost, 1,580 talents, I could get 4 Hastati, and it's actually cheaper. And I promise you the 4 Hastati will be of more value to you in that combat than the Triarii. So the Roman army that I would have probably gone with here, veteran legionaries are just probably a little bit better bang for their buck down there. If you don't want to spam more than 4 of the same, that's fine. I understand a lot of people like to go that route. They don't like to spam it. Principe are pretty good pound for pound unit. They have a little bit less armor, but I mean, you could always too, just like, you could get in those veteran legionaries. You could throw in some armored legionaries, and then honestly, your cavalry, I mean, legionary cav's not bad. Sucky Equites might be a little better. They have a lot less armor, so it kind of depends on just which route you want to go, but I'd definitely get some of those guys. And then from a skirmishing component, Roman skirmishers are expensive. They can potentially be used to good effect versus enemies, but the Romans are very heavily armored, and you know, really the biggest thing you have to worry about from the barbarians is their charge. So maybe consider this. Vigiles are not the best unit to absorb charges, or if you just really wanted some skirmishers, you could throw in like 4 of these leves. Their javelins are not that good, but you could maybe use them to pound away on an enemy general or something like that. So, or you probably want another cav unit, to be honest. I mean, if you pop another one of the cav units in there and then maybe throw a Vigile in. Your biggest worry with this army is that getting charged. You don't want these armored legionaries and other stuff to take the charges, so you would want to disrupt the charge of the enemy a little bit. Maybe just bring 2 of the armored legionaries, a couple legionary cohorts, and now you can afford a couple more Vigiles. So these guys could play charge bait in front of your veteran legionaries who make up the center, and then your Hastati can help protect the flank from charges and assist in cav fights with your legionary cav. I mean, that's a pretty hefty Roman stack to overcome right there. I mean, if you look at the armor here, veteran legionaries, 85 armor, armored legionaries, 95 armor, 90 armor on the legionary cohort. Even Hastati have 60 armor, for crap's sake, and these guys can get some work done. Take all your guys out of formation attack with the Romans and spread them so that they don't get their flank wrapped around. and that's going to be the best way to go with the Romans. So hopefully that little bit of advice maybe help our teammates out there. There's a couple of builds, either one of which I think would have been better than what they brought. My Arverni build here is probably a little bit questionable, and my Roman build is probably a bit questionable too. You could clean that up a little bit too if you wanted. But I mean, in general, it would work out probably okay. Hope you all enjoyed this. Hope it's been informative if you're relatively new, or you're just looking for some tips. I mean, Rome, Arverni, Boii are all power factions in Rome 2. All of them can be great factions. Rome is an extremely good faction if used properly. They're a little weaker on open ground, where the barbarians have an easier time getting their charge. You put these guys in the hills or in the forest, and they are, man, they're good. They are very good. Their weakness to the barbarians is going to be the heavy cavalry is going to outmatch legionary cav. So you got to do a good job of supporting with Hastati. Hastati also beat Levy Freeman, and if you get them out in a cav fight supporting, you kind of have that advantage, though Levy Freeman do have a nice bonus versus cavalry, and Hastati do not. So it's just something to keep in mind. Also, Levy Freeman are cheaper. But anyway, hope you all enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage signing off for now. See you soon.